So I mentioned to you that our application is browser-based. So you can see I'm running it in simply Internet Explorer. But I don't know that many browser apps look quite like what you're seeing up here. It looks like a desktop app, I would assume. We said we wanted to make it navigate like Outlook. So if you can see this is very much like your typical Outlook navigation methodology. It's menus that change as you click through them. You can scale it up and scale it down regardless of what happens. The other piece that we think is important when you start thinking about our set of applications is that we've tried to be pretty much pervasive from a supply chain standpoint. So we look at the lead point being maybe the warehouse solution, parcel shipping, appointment scheduling, a product called Pulse, that's supply chain intelligence, EDI, document imaging. There's a billing system for third-party logistics companies that bill for their services rather than for their products. And then there's one that's not on this particular list, which we'll talk about. I'm not going to be able to show you today. In the middle of, you saw the screen go blank at the beginning of the session. One of my guys didn't know I was demoing today and took my Optimise system down. So we've got a route and load planning system as well, which I was planning to give you a quick look at, but we went into maintenance mode without my knowledge, so I apologize. Certainly can arrange that at another time. So, I said Outlook from that perspective. Let's launch an app here just real quick, and I'll show you kind of another look at it. From a purely pure perspective, this is a simple one. Think of this as your Excel spreadsheet. You've got the ability to do things like filtering on the columns. You've got the ability to export to Excel. You've got the ability to save. You can move columns around on the form like a spreadsheet. You can eliminate columns when you want it. If I didn't want that column at all, I could simply come along and say, let's eliminate that, or let's add created by on there because that might be important. But I'd like it before company, so we'll move it over here and replace it. When I'm done, I want to save that from a personalization perspective to my look and feel. And oh, by the way, maybe what I want to do is localize it, and so I can translate it into a different language, or I can use terminology that might be specific to your company. So any of the screens can be localized in 40 plus different languages. Any of the screens you can change the literals, the description, the tags on top. In addition, you can change all of the tooltips.
Well, this is browser-based. Why am I not seeing the little refresh down the bottom of the screen?
Well, Graham, that's a great question. Nice leading question. Thank you. As I said, it's what's called a rich internet application, which means that it runs like a desktop app, but it's projected in a browser. And we're looking at it in Internet Explorer, but you can run it in Firefox, you can run it in Safari on a Macintosh, you can run it in Google's Chrome browser. So it's pretty much browser agnostic, certainly with those four. And unlike a typical HTML page, for example, you don't go through that refresh process when you go from screen to screen. You'll also notice that it's a little bit interesting because we can assemble the look and feel much more like you would perhaps with Google or with MSN or with Yahoo. So if I wanted to see those systems side by side, I can simply set that up. Once again, I can come up and save my configuration of my workspace the way I'd like to save it, and then the next time I come back into the system, not only have I saved the configuration of the grid in terms of this screen, but I've saved the configuration of the overall system itself as well. Now, our notion is that people work on subjects. Right? When I'm going to do work in my business, I'm probably working on a sales order, a purchase order, an inventory request. I'm working on a subject. And so you'll see the notion of us, these things called query centers, work centers, and they're subject driven. So this is a sales order work center. And a sales order work center allows me to do everything that I might want to do about a sales order. I can filter it to find what I need. I can filter it by customer, by client, by wave, by order number, by whatever you might choose. If there's a particular type, let's go ahead and delete this for a moment. I'll show you what that does. If as a user, from a personalization perspective, I know I'm always going to to want to filter it by handle, I can drag a handle up there, and maybe I also know that priority is important to me, so I'll drag priority up there as well. And I can now assemble the way my application works, personalized to the way I do business. So if we start thinking about one of those big, hairy, audacious goals was to increase productivity of your people, the way you increase productivity of your people is to, number one, make the overall environment familiar. So make it look like Microsoft Office, which I think we've done. And the second is allow them to personalize it to the way they do work, rather than the way we think they should work. So if they want to use that to filter out information, they can. If they prefer to say, well, you know what, I think I'd rather look at things so I can look at orders by process step within the warehouse, and then I can filter it down by saying, show me all the ones where I'm short of merchandise from the warehouse. I'll filter it that way and tuck that back away, and now I've got my info. And I can simply navigate around and drill into the detail wherever that might be of that particular order. So the idea here from a productivity perspective is assemble everything into work centers. Those work centers are organized by subject. You can decide how you want to assemble it. If you don't like this out there because you don't use it all the time, minimize it. Just assemble it the way you want. Show the things you like. Tuck everything away for later. And it's always available. I can still look at instructions. I can still look at headers. I can still look at addresses. So you've got the ability as a user, and this is all driven by user and by role. So if you define within your organization that I've got 5 different roles of people, I can assign individual users to those roles, and I can set up my pre-built configurations so that the system user experience is optimized for that particular role within the organization. Okay, let's keep moving. The other thing I mentioned